So in this video, I'm going to show you guys how you get a bit more flex out of your leaf sprung Hilux or your leaf. So what we have here is we have a 1991 LM106 Hilux, and it is leaf sprung. We've got 2-inch lifted springs, just standard springs. It isn't rears up front or anything like that. And we've got 2-inch lift shackles. So it's actually about 4 inches longer than a factory shackle, and that gives you 2 inches of lift. I don't want to get too complicated with it. I love a simple setup. Leaf springs are actually very good, in my opinion. Of course, coilovers, and there's all the other ways you can do coil conversions. Leaf sprung vehicles, if you do it right, can handle really well, drive really well, and of course, it retains it being an LM106 Hilux. It's still a Hilux, so that's what I love about it. So we're not going to get too crazy with it. The idea is to keep it factory looking, I should say OEM plus. Obviously, the shocks that we've got here are pretty fancy, pretty nice, but I want a really good ride. I want adjustability, and I also want flex. Let's talk about shocks. Shocks is mainly what this video is going to be about. This shock was a 4-inch lifted shock. And yeah, it's longer, it's given us lift, but it hasn't given us much stroke length. Now, that wasn't enough for me. So we've got these, and I'm going to compare them. They've got about the same closed length, but way more stroke. That's also why we went for the Flex Priority shocks. Now, these are sold in lengths. So you go 10 or 8-inch travel, 10-inch travel, 12-inch, 14, 16-inch travel. They also do these in coilovers as well. But these shocks, Flex Priority, that's what we're going for. The remote reservoir. So we mount this resi somewhere else. We also have adjustability because it's got the compression adjustment on it. So when you're riding on the road and you want to get a bit more sturdiness back into your cornering, wind up that compression, and the vehicle rides a lot better. So that's what we've gone for, something like this. You don't want to cheap out on shocks. And you know, like with mountain bikes and all that, you wouldn't buy a mountain bike nowadays without a lockout on the rear shock or a front shock, because you want to be able to, when you're riding it on the road, you want to be able to not have that bob and that discomfort. So same concept with my four-wheel drive. I want that adjustability so I can firm up that ride and handle the corners with a little bit of confidence. So anyway, these are the shocks. This is a 10-inch travel Flex Priority remote reservoir shock with compression adjustment. Now, this could, in theory, bolt up to the lift that I've got right here, right now, but it's not going to give us a whole lot of up travel. What I do want is to have a bit more up travel. So this is how we're going to do it. This is my way of getting more flex, and that's up travel and down travel, not just adding down travel. We're going to give ourselves more up travel than it does with the shocks that we used to run, and way more down travel. So what we're going to do here, we're going to take this shock tower here, the factory shock tower, and we're going to cut that, and then we're going to add 50 mil of material around it, weld it back in. It's going to look original. We're going to make it look seamless, and you won't even be able to tell. Well, you will, but you won't. To the naked eye, to the average looker, it's going to look like a factory shock tower. Because we've got a 2-inch body lift, we could actually extend it even more if we wanted. We could lift that shock tower up 4 inches if we really wanted to, and in theory run an even longer shock. But we're going with the 10-inch, keep it conservative. So we're going to lift this, cut it, lift it. We're going to give ourselves more up travel and way more down travel too, and improve the ride of this thing tenfold. The other way you can do that is buy the Flex Priority shocks with II, cut that off and get a new shock tower and weld it onto the chassis. That's a different way of doing it. We're not doing it that way. We're trying to make it original. We're trying to make it look factory with a couple of benefits in performance. So let's do that. Cut the shock tower, extend the shock tower 50 mil, and weld it back together, grind it up, make it look nice, slap those shocks in, and we'll show you how much of a difference these shocks make to the ride. Alright, top of the shock tower's off. Now we're just going to add some plate steel, 50 mil of extra around there. Weld the first part here, tidy it up. We're going to add some bracing to it too, add some bracing down on the outside, give it a bit more thickness, a bit more meat, because these have been known to snap off. So I'm going to add a bit more meat to it, bring that 50 mil up, and we'll be ready to rock and roll. So I've got a wee 50 mil strip of 3 mil mild steel cut. I'm going to place that along the side here. Weld, tack weld, bend it around the curve, weld, bend it around the curve, weld, cut off the excess, fully weld it all the way around, tidy it all up, and then we can go and weld that onto the Hilux. It's worth mentioning, I'm TIGging, you don't have to TIG, you can MIG if you want. I just prefer TIG, and it's what I've got set up because I do a lot of stainless stuff. So yeah, I'm sticking with TIG for my own preference, but there is no obligation to TIG weld it. Just do a test fit to see how everything's looking and lining up, and this is where you're going to need to start having a wee play around with fitment and form everything into a position that it's meant to. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that that will need some bracing to strengthen up a bit, because now the fulcrum point is higher. So what I would recommend is bracing up, add some plate down the side just to give it a bit more thickness, give it a bit more strength. But essentially it's as easy as that. Like, slap that on, extend it. Now we've got an extra 2 inches of up travel that we didn't have before in terms of shock length, so we can go for an even longer shock if we really want to. And you can see we've actually still got another 70 mil, like 3-4 inches above that. So there is possibility to have even taller shock towers, but obviously you've got to keep in mind that the pin comes up a little bit too. Probably still stifling hot, but there you go. That's a very quick shock tower extension. Right, so need to mount the remote resi bracket. I'm chucking mine up here. I've checked I'm not going to drill into anything bad, because I'm going to riv nut and whatnot for mine. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but anyway, I want to put the bracket there. I'll just double check that I'm happy with the reservoir positioning. Yeah, I'm happy with that, I think. Yeah, so just going to drill up. There. These are stainless rib nuts. I've just got stainless ones because that's all I use for the custom snorkels. So stainless rib nuts. It is. Stainless never hurts, does it? Anyway, that's 2. we go. That is a Flex Priority shock installed. We've just got to do the same for the other side now. So in my situation, I think this started at 330 mil of droop, static droop that is. Obviously forced droop is different, but static droop we are at 430 mil versus 330, so it's an extra 100 mil of static droop, and we've got an extra 50 mil of up travel. So that's going to give us a great improvement in performance and suspension travel. So that's going to be really good for wheeling. Do not copy this. It can go more, but anyway, holy dooly. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Where's the wheel gone? Look at that, dropping to 35 with ease. And there we have it. That's your Flex Priority doing its job.